Okay, so we have a couple of questions we'd like to ask today. Would any of the perspectives or aspects like to step forward to answer them first?
Yes, we are all here.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, can you maybe talk about why we all needed to connect this weekend? We had to meet up, yeah.
The team needed bonding.
Can you tell us more about that?
They were very disconnected, each doing their own thing, not understanding what their purposes are linked together.
Yes, do people understand now what their purposes are?
Yes, to a point. They only know what they need to know for now.
Okay. Why is more information not given then?
Because they don't use it correctly.
Can you elaborate on that?
They do their human things, as we can say. They take it to the next step. They try to use all the information at once. This can be problematic going forward.
Yes, okay. So you're saying their human is getting in the way.
Yes.
Okay, so only certain parts of information is given so that it doesn't get, I suppose,
Yes.
distorted.
When an action needs to take place, the human mind tends to break it down to try and describe it to itself. So what happens with this information? The knowledge gets given. This given knowledge needs to act out and the energy needs to flow in order to create a movement. When this knowledge is given too soon, it gets broken up before it can act out, allowing the human aspect to control certain ways of how the information will be perceived.
Yes.
However, this is not incorrect, but this is not right either, because the false perception will change the energy flow, as one would want the energy to flow forward or in a certain direction. By taking the information too soon and breaking apart, one could be off by a couple of degrees, which will still get to the same outcome, but the route that will be taken is different. This is where the free will gets taken.
Yes. Okay, so it could actually throw us off course if we were to break up this
In a way,
information.
it could, but not 100% of course. Let's say that you are going towards this direction. You can either go this way or you could come a long way around. Either way, you will get to the destination. Your free will of how you absorb the information is what journey is the soul going to take in the perception to receive this information. Does this make sense?
Yes, I understand that. So you're saying the kind of destiny or the goal at the end is the same. It's just about taking a shortcut or the long
It is
cut.
the same, but it is not the same. The way that we would perceive this is one would get to a place. How we would explain to make it more of a colorful picture so one's mind can absorb the information is look at today to get here. You and Natasha knew you'd get to this day, correct? But you do not know what one would be wearing, what one would look like. Would one be more tired than the other? These are the different things with the free will. Both of you could have had not such a good sleep and been very irritated in this moment, and therefore it would still happen. However, the journey as it is happening would be slightly uncomfortable. See, these are things that cannot be planned or forced from hierarchies. This is what they do not understand as beings on this planet. We do not understand that there is a great vast of energy continuously moving, and is how you move with it. It is like being in the ocean. One could be in the ocean 1 minute relaxing, and the next thing a wave could come and smack you. You will not drown. However, it is unexpected. You did not see it coming. However, you are still in the water. Does this make sense?
Yes, it makes sense. I was just wondering about the free will versus destiny because we were talking about it earlier. If we do all this work on manifestation and trying to manifest what we want, but if there's kind of destiny and coming into play.
There is, but there isn't. The way we would like to do this is more metaphorical, as we know that you like the metaphors more, correct?
Yes, I like the examples, use and metaphors, of course. Yes.
Yes, we will try to paint a nice picture. However, we do not see it from your perspective. So if more depth needs to be given, please let us know.
Okay.
As we would take examples, destiny is not actually destiny. This is a false perception. The way that one would see destiny, one would think that this is an outcome that has to be taken place. This is not true. However, how it works, we will use like this. We would say all of these areas are each something that you would call destiny or something that would happen through your lifetime, through what has been contracted. You've known that each one of these things is going to take place. This has been set in stone inside of the soul, inside of this life, and it branches out as the energy connects. Is this where you would want to be? But now one knows that one would be going to each route. But however, how one gets there is completely up to free will. One knows
Mm,
that you are going to, for example, have a birthday. It is going to be your day, the day that you were born. However, this day could either be a good day for you or a bad day. It is still going to happen. This day will be there. Your perception of the day
mm,
depends on yourself. That is where the free will comes in. Not all is destiny, not all is scripted. There is open interpretation for one to be expressive, for one to be free. This is why there is allowance for manifestation, as one could take different colors and paint a picture. One knows that your picture might be, as we would say, the ocean, but you could not only use blue to color it in, you could use green, pink, orange. You could create different colors on your canvas. Just because you know what picture you are coloring in doesn't mean you have to use the same ingredients as everyone else.
yes. Okay, that makes sense. Thank you very much. Is there anything else about free will and destiny?
The free will is just a mindset. There is no free will in the sense of you could do whatever you want whenever you want. It is how you are free willingly receiving the perception. As you are
Mm,
sending out light, everything is bouncing the light back to you. This is why you get the perception, the depth. This is how one could physically see. It is light that is reflecting through all of the molecule structures of all the fluid. This is all fluid based. All of these atoms is fluid that has memory on the inside. Your light projects inside this and then projects out energy again. This is what is creating the perception. So you could choose what perception you are going to receive. That is why there is this thing of placebo. One will believe what one perceives. If you look at something with a certain energy and frequency, you call it back to you, and this is how you will perceive it. This is why you could manifest and change things. This is why these certain things could happen. There is no free will in the sense where you could decide to just do whatever you like. There are rules, there are structures. However, your free will is how you're going to perceive what energy you give out. Does this make sense? Because many get confused on this topic.
yes. No, it makes sense. Like you were explaining with the five fingers, holding up the five fingers, and there's these kind of grand events, almost like the major arcana in tarot. And then there's kind of these more mundane aspects, kind of
Yes.
being the lower arcana, which is everyday events, but how you actually experience them is determinant on your level of consciousness, level of in alignment, out of alignment thoughts.
Mm.
So I think that makes sense to me. Okay, so we were also wondering about Natasha seems to have some people bothering her at her work. It seems to be a bit of like a psychic kind of drain, psychic attack. Do you have any explanation, better explanation of what happened there?
This is what she does not understand, and she's not going to be very happy with the information that comes forward. However, we would need to tell her because this is something that is quite important for her to know so that she could know how to transmute her emotions. Her
Yes.
emotions are too all over the place, which is causing different ripples. She doesn't know what she's doing. She is a feeder, she is a light. How we would say this is where we would take how everything falls. We stem of the eighth dimension. However, we are not living on the eighth dimension. We are the energy that flows that creates the eight. We are two that flow in and two that flow out, and together we make the eight. This is the space. We hold the space, and she connects in the middle. She is the bridge. She is the mirror as the energy flows in and out. The rest of the team are all stemming from the eighth. However, she is the eighth. She is the mirror. This is why she does not see things the same as everyone else. Her job is to mirror and give out light so others can perceive this too. So her energy is always being given. She is never ever stopping. She wants to block it off and she tries to close them, but she must feed everyone. When everybody gets fed with this light, it is going to be absorbed inside of their vessels, which is going to mirror their true selves to them and they, as we would say, face the music, face themselves.
Okay, so she's kind of like a grand mirror.
Yes, she is projecting the light. She is projecting a light that causes a mirror effect for them to see their own frequency.
Yes. Okay.
So they must tap into her. We do not close them off. We allow them to do such. We allow them to attach themselves to her field. It is the only way they're going to learn. They are never going to learn to look at their own true energy and be who they would want to be perceived as if they do not get this rude awakening, if we can say. So it is uncomfortable for her to be bombarded, but it must happen. If she locks herself away and she closes herself off all the time, how are they going to learn? How are they going to see their true perception, the reflection that is needed for them to awaken out of this mindset? Many of them are stuck. They are stagnant. This is why we have come to this earth. They've been stagnantly blocked inside an idea, a thought base has been placed by another. This is why this planet has become a prison. This planet was a free planet to experience things, to take change, to be able to transmute energy and manipulate it from a higher dimension in towards a physical. This is what is not understood by the physical, to physically be here, to feel, to taste, to smell. This is what we do not have. We understand it. We know how it flows. However, where we come from, this does not exist. We want to bring it into this now moment, to see what we could make of it. However, as this process was going through, other energies, which we would say is not evil, they do have a role. They must play the villain in order to challenge the light. This is what it was about, but it created contrast. But then, with these energies were misperceived by beings on this planet, by the human beings here who did not understand this, they placed a thought based frequency. They created patterns and frequency blocks on the mental capacity, which linked other human beings into it, which trapped their minds. Their minds are trapped, and this is why the planet is trapped. They are not trapped within, they are not trapped energetically, they are trapped in here. They are forced to be in the mind, perceiving what they think, and the thought base is coming. The thought energies are being perceived over them, and they are just grabbing and absorbing. And this is why they stay in this mentality. This is why they stay sheep, as we would say. This is why they take no direction. They are focused here and not focused here. Everyone is trying to hear and see, but none are trying to feel. It doesn't feel right, then why are you perceiving it as such? And this is what has happened. And many of these energies have started to believe this because they were taught from children. And then their children get taught from that, and they get taught from that. This is what created a cycle which locked everyone in. It is a mental prison. There is no physical prison.
Mm.
Everything that is happening on this planet is happening from the human beings. These beings that have been led into power, which have created these thought patterns to control. This is why we get actually, in the sense, we would want to say upset, but we do not feel emotion. We want to just describe it as such because this is what the collective is feeling. Everyone is feeling stagnant as nothing is moving. Everything is moving. It is you that is not moving. You are not taking the steps to change the world around you. And it does not mean one must now walk outside and leave one's house and go sit in the middle of the bushes and say everything is going to be okay. It is for all collective to stand up together and say, we do not need these things. We do not need this in our society. Many times, different groups throughout the centuries have changed and created shifts. This is what has happened. Let's take an example. Let's take the female energy on this planet. The female energy has been suppressed for millennia. Why? As the male energy felt too dominated, felt threatened, and had to suppress the female. This was allowed on the planet because it's the only way the female would have learned a certain experience, and the male also need to learn how it feels to be threatened. However, that dynamic did not move back into equality. It stayed unbalanced. And everybody has tried for millennia to try and get it balanced again. Now, many perceive and think it was balanced because a lie has been told, equality has been given, as we could say. This is not true. Women are still underpressed. Everybody is still oppressed. It is not even about a male and female anymore. It is about a certain group who have decided what the laws and rules on this planet is. And it's for the rest of the planet to say, we do not see it as equal. We do not see it as such. We need to stand up together. If every single human being decided on one day that they would not conform to society, they would not move, they would not use this construct of money, they would not need to buy and consume all these things that are killing them, and all decide at once to leave everything, what could they do? They could not harm anyone. If everybody just decided from tomorrow, these days don't exist. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. The 7-day cycle that we have created as a prison doesn't exist. Let's not do it. Let's all start just helping each other. One will grow the bread. One will create all the seeds. This is what it is about. One would grow an environment to help. This is why we have been pressing on self-sustainability. This is what is going to create the mental capacity for one to live out one's heart. This is what it is all about. It is about what environment are you creating. Communities must come together and say, we do not want to fall under this rule and governing. Why must we do such? Let's take South Africa as an example, because it is the perfect example. Look at the governments of this country. They are running the country into the ground. Look at this thing you call ESCOM, if we can say. We do not have the correct pronunciation, but that is how we perceive them. This is a company that is providing all of this power, this electricity, but they cannot do such, as these are thieves and criminals who have stolen and taken from this area. Now, what is happening? There is times where you have this time of no electricity, which is very good for oneself because it helps for them to awaken, which is a good concept that we like. However, it is trying to show you a bigger picture that they cannot control it. Why are you paying for this thing called electricity if you are not receiving it? Why are you giving your energy to something you are not receiving? This is the bigger lesson for everyone in this country. It is for them to see this situation must take place, or else you're never going to open your eyes to see. If everybody decided at once they are all going to do natural electricity and even not pay tax on this, then so what could they do? They could not lock up the whole country. It is to stand together and say, we want a 5D reality. We do not want to be in this prison anymore, this prison that you let us be in. That is why there is no change, as everybody is aware of it, but one is too scared to stand. However, all must stand together. Does this make sense?
Definitely makes sense. And I think people have always been talking about that throughout the millennia, is just stand together. But it seems people are quite attached to this construct that was created. And, the human being
People
does
are
not
not
like change.
attached to the construct.
Hmm.
People are attached to the thought.
Hmm.
To the thought that if they do not obey, it will be taken away.
Yes.
And thus is why all must stop being greedy. This is what it's about. It's about the greed on the planet. It's about the greed in one's heart. The ones going, okay, I do not want to stand because now, if I stand, then I must give away everything I've got. What is it for one of these people who have mass variety of land to say, I will grow the fruits and vegetables that will sustain this town? And then for another to say, I will be the one using these ingredients to create food for those who don't know how to do it. There is already a system that doesn't need a money exchange. However, one is saying, no, I will only create this food-based source for profit and income for my own pocket. There's enough land in this entire country for every single one to build their own home and not have to pay for it or live on top of each other, which messes with each other's frequencies. Everyone is different frequencies, different color bases. This is the best way for us to explain. Take the rainbow. The rainbow, each color is a dimensional space. Each color is a certain frequency. Each color is a sound. Each being's light stems to one of these colors. One is not higher than the other. All has to be colors from different perceptions in order to paint a picture. If this color is shining from here and this color shines from here, it can create a picture here for the one that's creating the perception. It does not mean this color is stronger than this color, because the two colors have to merge together in order to create a picture. This is why everyone is different. This is why everyone must stop trying to be the same. This is how they created the prison. They created the prison thought base, which teaches you to stay the same, to not want to venture out into your own reality. This is what it's about. It is about stepping out of that, as we would say, comfort zone. Many, many, many complain and cry on a daily basis and ask for direction. You have the direction. You have the free will and opportunity to say, no more. You do not take it. Now it is the different fault of all the other dimensions. All have been blaming. All have been saying, why is this fifth dimensional space not here? It is already here, but it's not here. Does this make sense?
Yes, I think it's just difficult for people who are in survival mode to kind of think about things in these kinds of concepts, because some people are
Yes.
just are literally facing bankruptcy. People I know, people living on the
But this
streets.
is the thought.
Mm,
This is the thought. And it is not their thought. They must understand this. This is the thought base of the hierarchies on the planet who are trying to control the perception. So they are putting the people in a stressful environment so they cannot use their own thoughts. Thus is the prison.
yes. But what advice would you have for these people who are literally kind of on the streets right now? Because I always think if my information can reach people like that, what would you say to people who are in survival mode right now? What should they do? What should their next step and their next step be?
Their next step would be group together.
Mm-hmm.
Group consciousness is the strongest consciousness. Group together. This is what we've been trying to say. This is why we've created this Atlantis. This is why this beacon has been lit. It is a beacon to come home. It is a beacon for all the energies who are feeling this fifth dimensional vibration, who crave it, who do not want to be in the systematic flaws anymore, to come to this side where we could all do it together, not to come here to create profit and feed off each other, but to come and say, I am going to come to the Atlantis and I will be the baker and you will eat the bread, but that one will be making the furniture. This one will be doing that. And that is why the beacon has been lit, to say, if you are part of the perception that does not want to be a part of the society, here is a home for you. Come and we create a community that is fifth dimensional, because there are those who have their free will and contracts who have chosen to not be in that energy. And so we must also respect their side and allow them to shift to the other side of the country. This is why the split is happening. All of the righteous, all of the ones with the hearts in the right place must come together, because they would not take advantage of each other. This is what it's about. They take advantage of each other, and this is where it happens, where one would say, okay, I know that I could do a service. Let's say Natasha, because she's always the best example, as we could always speak only on her behalf. This is what it is. She has told us many of a time she loves her job. She truly does, but she is unhappy. She's very unhappy, and she's not unhappy with the work. She's unhappy with the system.
Mm,
She feels unhappy that she has to spend her time locked inside of a
mm,
room to teach people for money
mm,
just so she can survive. This makes her unhappy.
mm,
She would want if people would say to her, come here to us, we give you free stay and food. Come
mm,
here and teach us. She would never ever have to charge. She would travel for the rest of her life teaching, as this is her passion.
mm.
She would teach for free, and she would do it with a smile on her face.
Yes.
You see, this is what the perception is all about. She doesn't want to create that exchange. However, an exchange is needed for her service so that she can learn balance to not use too much. That is what it's about. So this is why she must say, okay, I would come to this place, but I'm going to teach you for accommodation and food, and then a small fee for me to get there and back. But she's not going to overly create expenses where she's going to tell them they must give her an X amount of money that is not needed, that's going to make her greedy with her time. Then she's only going to pick certain things and never help those who are in need. This is what it's about. It's about balance. This concept of money can exist. This concept of trade is very important because it teaches many lessons. However, it is the label on this concept that has created it to cause a vortex going in the wrong direction, which has caused greed, which has caused fear. Let's take this town. If you go and look on how this town was a year or two ago, all of this land was still at a good price, an affordable price, as one would say. However, now the prices have come up. It is ridiculous, and people want to use it, and people want to buy. Why? when this land should be for free.
Mm.
The governments must give the lands for free because that is not the property of the government.
Mm.
They did not rule the earth. The earth did not sign a contract with them and say that this is their land. This is all's land. All has rights on this planet. You do not ask a buck or a goat or even a cow or even the birds to pay for which tree they stay in or where they burrow their holes. They respect one another equally and allow each other to live on the same environment. This is what it's about. It is about breaking away from these rules. Yes, there is chaos, but it is beautiful chaos. Allow them to have their chaos on their side. They know this. All energy knows this. It is contracted from an area where those cannot even perceive. Some have chosen to come and endure this misery. And they do not do it because they like it. They do it because they are craving that lesson. Because what is not understood from this dimensional space is that where we would say, if this dimensional space is here and we are here, it is all good all the time, as we would say. Everything is flowing in a perfect harmony. Something is not out of place. Everything understands each other at the same time all the time. And if you remember that you are here and you come down here, it is okay to make mistakes and learn because you know you're going to come back here. But what is the point? What is the point of staying here when this is all it has ever been and ever will be? It's a never ending cycle that
Mm.
cannot die. So why do we want to be here forever? It is great, but everybody on this planet knows. And this is the thing that none want to admit. When things are going good, you do not learn. You do
Mm.
not acknowledge. Then why are you here? Why have you come to this planet? If it was all good all the time, everybody would just be lying around bored. There would not be anything to do. But when one has a challenge and one has to elevate one's mind, one has to help others, one has to not help others, it creates this dimensional space to cause a split. And this is what a reality is. Energy is all together all the time forming. But once energy splits off each other and forms different, it started to create different things, which created matter, which created physical. The changes is what has created this whole reality. If energy stayed the same and flowing in the same direction, you would not have different things. You would not have something different. So why would you want to stay the same? It is like being in the ocean all the time, just in the water. It is boring. But there's fish, there's different sea life. There's different plants, there's different currents, the temperature is different. This creates a different experience for anyone who goes into the ocean at all times. But if the ocean was just bland, one color, had nothing in it, and the water didn't even move and it was just boring, who would want to go swimming?
Yes.
Who would want to go explore it? This is what it is. This is the ocean, and we are all just perceptions exploring the ocean. But it is to respect the currents. This is what many don't do. But we know why they do it. It is to create a perception because you cannot respect it if you have not disrespected it. Does this make sense?
Yes. I think the problem is being on this planet is all good and well, but it seems like people are really struggling with emotions. For instance, Natasha is struggling with past events happening in her childhood, for instance, grief. But she said she doesn't want to go into the events from childhood because it's too painful to actually feel that. And then she would have a breakdown and she would cry. How can we then integrate things like grief or resentment or rage? Like, what is the best technique for that? For Natasha, for example.
Yes, this is a very tricky one, as many need experiences to perceive things differently. However, there is a very big misconception on how the energy needs to be transmuted.
Mm.
The emotion does not need to be felt. This is what none understand. Emotion doesn't need to be felt, it needs to be acknowledged.
Mm.
There's a difference. The difference is she has to go back to that moment and she has to say, okay, this did happen to me. However, I'm not going to allow it to shape me into something I'm not. I'm going to take it and make myself stronger. She learned many lessons from it. This is why she is so smart today. This is why she knows. She is not, as she would say, a sheep. She doesn't comply by any other rules because she had these experiences. If she grew up in a happy home and everything went well, she would not be the being. She would not be humble. She would not have the feelings of how to act out and be who she truly is. It has to balance. However, by going back into it, we have been trained to go into the emotion, which has caused fear base. This is the perception. All of the information that has been passed down over centuries has been manipulated and changed in order to keep oneself in a mindset. This is why, as you say, the spiritual ego is there. That is real. It is there because it's perception of false information. All of these teachers on the planet are wrong. And we do not mean this to belittle them. They are not wrong in their hearts from what they're trying to achieve, but they are wrong. There is no wrong and right, but for this statement we shall say they are wrong because they are not following their most inner truth. They are following teachings from others and trying to teach others their perception and their truth. And this is what it's wrong. This is why we have chosen Natasha. Natasha is not here to teach anybody her perception. She is just here to create guidance to show others how to find their own perception. Because some are green, some are yellow, some are blue, some are purple, some are red. She cannot tell you what color you are. Only you can. However, she can send you the memory, the reminder of how to look inside and see your color and what it projects out to be. Once one starts to lay a claim and tell you, you must do X, Y, and Z, this is not the right perception. This is false perception.
Yes. Okay.
Meditation is not real. And this is what everybody is struggling with. Everyone is saying to be a good spiritual leader, you must meditate. This is what Natasha is struggling with. She sits for hours trying to meditate. And the more we tell her to not do it, it is not necessary, the more she feels disconnected because she has been believing a false perception
Mm,
of what spirituality is.
yes.
Meditation is 24/7 acknowledging your surroundings, acknowledging where you are. The more we tell her this, the more she pulls herself back because she's still trying to make sense of what the world has told
Yes.
her.
Okay. Yeah, because spiritual teachers are always talking about meditating and eating vegan and being
Yes,
prescriptive.
this is not true. This is the false perception. The false perception is every single being is different. It's like the fingerprint. This is why, as above, so below. This spark, this energy, this Natasha, there is never going to be another. We are the eighth dimensional keepers having an experience in this physical vessel. And this physical vessel's perception, perceiving our energy, is creating Natasha, which is creating a merge of this energy. And she's seeing things from perceptions that we could never even dream of, or perceive, or think. Because we are all for one perceiving this from a separate energy. And that is what makes her beautiful. And that is what makes her different. Because when she goes away and pulls back in, we become our separate selves. We are not merged in where we are in this space and time, but we are in her and we are merged, and it is beautiful. And the same with you. All of your energy signatures constructing from each dimensional space and time that has pulled your vortex together and created you, Erica. You are so unique. There will never be another like you. There will never ever be another like anyone else. So the way you need to transmute your energy and the way Natasha transmutes her energy is different. This is what it's about. Everyone needs to learn their difference because it can be similar. It can be similar, but everything is a degree off.
Yes.
And this is why energy moves. Energy moves because this is a slight degree off, that's a slight degree off, and that is what creates the chain and the ripple.
Okay.
That is what makes this whole reality beautiful because not even one atom is the same. Each one is moving at a different degree and a different speed all the time, creating a perception. And one can only know one's true perception because one's atoms and frequencies inside this vessel is stemming from 100 million different dimensions at the same time to be perceiving light here in the physical realm, which is so beautiful. But the way that you transmute that energy is different through the channels you have to bring it in. So why would I want to be the same as you? Why would you want to be the same as me?
Yes.
It is depending on the vessel. For example, the only reason why Natasha has stopped eating meat and sugars and all these things is because she damaged her vessel. When she was younger, her trauma damaged her vessel. It tore through her tissue. And on top of that, her emotional stability she could not handle. She could not. She would go out and use substances and drink and physically tear her tissue, and her vessel is very strong and had to regenerate the light each time. But now, when she streams us in, the light is stronger. This is what everybody is not understanding. It doesn't matter who you are or what you have done or what false perception of spirituality you are perceiving. Your light is going to start projecting out more intensely whether you like it or not. This is what it's about. And each cell in your body is reflecting that image right back onto you. That is why many are working with their own shadows, their own demons, their own perception of what the world is. You see a nasty, ugly world. Why? Because that is what's jumping back at you. Because that is what is happening inside your universe, inside your body. Your each cell is stemming from a different dimension. That is why it's quantum. It is a little universe inside you. This is what beings are not understanding. Each blood flow atom frequency inside this vessel is a frequency from a different space that's connected in this time and point that is creating this vastness. Now, as we would say, if Natasha is streaming through green, blue, and yellow, and you are streaming through purple, green, and orange, you are not wrong. She's not wrong. You have a color in common. However, you need to remember which color you're coming from and stem back from there. And the only way you're going to know that is by going inside of your universe and feeling it. So when Natasha went inside her universe and felt it and started projecting out her light, these weak points inside of her vessel started to physically tear the tissue. So she had to make a decision. Am I going to keep weakening my vessel with the light that I'm projecting through and eventually cause the vessel to cease to exist? Because this is a choice. If she decided that she is going to keep drinking, eating meat, and eating sugar, her vessel would not be able to hold the light that she is holding right now, and her vessel would have ceased to exist. She could have died. She could. And she knew this. She knew this, and this choice was given. Either you can go this way or this way, and each one knows it and has their choice. This is why this inner voice, this inner intuition tells you to not do something, because you know, if I keep going down this road, this is where I'll end. Where my goal is, I want to be there. However, you do have two stories written because your free will is what are you going to choose. If she free willingly wanted to keep doing all of those things, she would still live a happy life until the point where she couldn't anymore, and then she would cease to exist. Then she cannot hold that trauma and blame anyone other than herself. And this is what created karma cycles, because one had to acknowledge the trauma they did to themselves. It is if we had to say to you, Erica, please do not walk through that door right now. You are going to bump your toe. And you say, oh no, I'm wearing shoes. And you walk out and bump your toe, and then you scream and cry, why did you bump your toe? You knew. And you chose to say, no, you're going to keep your shoes on. This is the free will side. This is the perception. Everything is going to happen the way that you've orchestrated it. There are certain things that are out of your control because you have to play by the rules of the frequency and current. As we would say again, Natasha, she damaged her own vessel. We did not say to her that she must go party and have all of this fun and experience and take all of these recreational drugs and substances through her life. She chose to do that to numb her pain instead of reflecting on why she's hurting. And she hurt herself. This was her own decision, and she got that experience. But then she had to choose. Is she going to now leave that experience behind and allow the vessel to heal, allow the energy to heal to go forward, or is she going to stay stuck in that mindset? And that was her free will. And that's what it's about. She would have still been here today. She would have still finished her contract, but she would have been very sick and she would have been, as we would say, busy dying. This is a fact because her time is chosen. She can choose. Does she want her time here or does she want her time here? Because her time in between is causing it. That is why we can't say this concept of destiny exists. Everything is happening in the now moment. If Natasha lies here and she in this now moment creates a thought pattern and she chooses and she says, oh, she is going to start drinking again, that trauma in her liver is going to echo out and create a reality, a past life, a different life on a different realm where that pain, that problem needs to be experienced. It's quantum. It didn't happen first. It happens in the now. This is what humans are not understanding. This is why we say control your thoughts. Many people are working with their thoughts now, manifesting in their bodies and creating a past life that needs to be healed that was never there.
It's just an image at the end of the
It
day, isn't it?
is. And now it must go through this energy, through this life, to create a concept for this being to understand, to heal this aspect.
Yes, it's just a story to teach us a lesson, which is what I always say about past lives. I don't care if
Yes,
it's past or present, if it doesn't matter. It's all happening
exactly.
now.
Because this is the universe inside this tissue.
Yes.
So what happens in the universe must manifest out. If Natasha was eating unhealthy, her universe in her body would be at conflict, meaning the universe outside of her would be at conflict too. But because she chose to take that step, because she chose to put herself first because of her worth, and she said, I deserve better. I am not a product of what my trauma has created for me. She stood up. She does not know how brave she was. She still thinks she was not brave enough. This is not true. There are so many people on this planet with small conveniences and things that happen that create a lifetime of trauma. She has gone through so much pain. She has seen so much darkness where many people can't even come back from one thing. She experienced 12 different traumatic events in her life. And she chose one day and said, I am going to stop. I'm not going to be depressed. I'm going to heal myself. I am going to be the being that I choose. And that is when it created that beautiful shift. That type of energy and power is what allowed her to channel us in. If she did not make that decision, she would have never left Channel us in and it would have ceased to exist and another would have gotten that opportunity because we all are the same being experiencing itself from different perceptions. One is not more special than the other.
Yes.
One must just absorb and embrace what one is doing. This is why it is so complicated because of the labels. The labels has been placed on how it should be, how your third eye should work, how you should upgrade the body, how you should channel in this light. This is not true. If you believe by looking at yourself in the mirror, it channels in. If you believe you must stand on your one leg and jump around for 3 hours, it will happen.
It's a belief system, right?
Exactly.
Okay.
Because what you believe, you perceive. And why do you perceive it? Because when you believe something, that intent gets placed on that energy. And this is what makes everybody so beautiful. If I had to say in here, in this space, If Natasha just understood her potential and knew that she can feel every atom that is moving here in this very moment, energy needs a master. Energy needs a master. It needs to be told. It loves you so much and it does what you want. And if she said to these atoms here, hey, I want an apple. Could you create an apple? All of the energy here will start perceiving out the light through the memory of the water that's in this space, and a physical apple would be there, and she could eat it. This is what Jesus has done on this planet. He was here to show that anyone can do it. We are all those beings. If we all understand how the light and the energy and the perceptions move, then we can change things. But because of the indoctrination of what has happened, the wool that has been placed over the eyes, one is not seeing anymore. One is not seeing the truth. So one was forced to listen, but one was listening to the wrong people, to the wrong beings, to the wrong energy, because one does not listen with the ears. What is listening? It is frequency that moves into the base and then creates a sound. But it does not come in here. No, no. It comes in here and it echoes through the tissue and then it echoes on the inside. One does not listen with the ears. One listens with the heart. One perceives in with the heart and projects out. And this is what lost knowledge is on this planet. This is what no one understands, and this is why no one has achieved it. This is why no one is truly in the 5D. The 5D is here, the energy is here, but no one on this planet is in the 5D yet. Everybody is surrounded by the 5D. Oh, yes, it is here, but nobody's in it because everyone is trying to be the same. And no one is embracing their own uniqueness and transmuting themselves the way they need to be perceived in order to do that. Natasha could look at these atoms and she can command them because she can place an intent on them because she sees them for what they truly are, because she sees intent. That is what the infinity is about. That is what the eighth dimension is. It's the intent that gets placed on the current that creates the matter to form. However, let's say another would not be able to do it as such. Another would have to be able to place the intent by visualizing the apple first and then telling the energy, this is what I'm visualizing, and it would be created. They both could make an apple, but how they do it is different. And this is why we keep coming through. We've tried to be nice about it, and it's not that we can be ugly, because these labels and perceptions need to fall away. Truth is truth, and this is what it is. The truth is, everyone is trying to find the answers on the outside because they're too scared to look inside to see their own reflection. And the only way that they are going to get it right on this planet is to physically look at their own reflection and see themselves for who they really are, for what they've done, for what is happening inside you. Because in this universe, there's the right and there's the left. One is not good and one is not evil. There are two different things that give contrast to create the one. That is the neutrality, the beauty in the chaos. You cannot have beautiful plants and grass and things growing if the land was not barren or killed or burnt. Why does it have to be a negative concept when something happens that's not in your favor? That is what the false perception on this planet has become. This term, this label, negative. This is the problem on this planet, because these beings have believed that that concept exists, that there's a negative and there's a positive. None exist. There is just energy. And if you're going to perceive it as something negative, That is your free will. That is your choice. And many have taken advantage of that concept. So we do not blame the planet. We do not say that everybody is stupid or everybody is not good or everybody is sheep as how they would perceive it. Those ones who would get offended are the ones who know that they are doing it to themselves.
Yes. Okay.
That is what it's about. This is what it's about, Erica, but you've seen it. You've seen it all along, and this is why we share this information with you. Not many see this or understand this, and this is the problem. Many have attached themselves so hardcorely to the labels that they forgot that they never existed, that they're just words. Words don't exist, it's vibration.
Okay.
It's just vibration. And that is why you are unhappy. That is why. You are unhappy, Erica. You are. Because you know that everything around you is a false perception that others are perceiving on this planet. And it bugs your energy, it bugs your soul. Because your soul knows what the true potential is. This is why you have been chosen to get the information. This is why it's coming to you. You are going to get this information that none has. This is your and Natasha's journey together. Because you too see the same thing but through different perceptions. You're seeing it from different colors, but you're both strong enough to put it together and make a rainbow. Where others fail at this task because they make it personal. They lay their own personal perceptions on the information that needs to be shared with the collectives. And that is when you say they get their spiritual egos or they get this false perception because they believe that the information they perceive is what everybody needs, which is not true. They just need to relay the information as it's given and not lay their label on it.
Okay. Yes. And not to kind of give their opinions on what the information is that's coming through.
Exactly.
Okay. Okay, is there any information about kind of new information that's coming through? Because I feel like the information is we've heard these kinds of concepts explained in other ways, and I think if people don't understand it by now, then they maybe just need to revisit their original work. But is there any kind of new information, these new technologies for New Atlantis that would like to come through?
There is a lot that we could give, but we are thinking at this point, what is going to come of it? If many don't understand these concepts, how are they going to understand the further information? But this doesn't mean it needs to be blocked.
Mm.
It is just they are going to place an intent on it and perceive it for something else, which is going to create a different chain reaction. This is why we try to give information at appropriate times. But this information we will share with you. These vessels are so amazing. This is what we do not understand why everything has to become, as we would say, personal. It is not. This being, this light, this us, we would like to try something before we explain something to you,
Hmm.
if you do not mind.
Yes.
As we know, we are taking your time, but you must also know that this is new for us. We are not speaking as 1, 2, 3, or 4. As we are talking to you right now, all 4 is merged into one inside of Natasha. We cannot even describe the sensation of how this feels to have your energy flow inside of something that you can physically feel. It is, as we would say, weird.
Hmm. But fun.
It is. We want to try something, but we do not know if the vessel is going to be overwhelmed or if Natasha is going to receive it well. So we are just going to take it slow, if you do not mind.
Hmm.
We would like to open her eyes and actually see the room from the perception from
Yes.
behind her eyes.
Yes.
However, we could feel she's getting overwhelmed with the idea as she does not know what she's going to see.
Should be exciting though.
It is. It is exciting, but we feel it's more exciting for us than for her. She
Okay.
knows what it's like to see behind these eyes. But we have seen the perception from her side, but we've not physically done it.
Yes, but I think it would be interesting for us to see the perception of the world through your eyes.
Yes, this is why we're here.
Mm.
We are not here to overtake her. She thinks such. She thinks that when we come in like this, that she's going to disappear in the background forever and we are going to take over. No, no. That's why we've chosen her to drive. Because sometimes she understands a concept much more than what we could give.
Yes, okay.
Because she feels it different. And this is why we chose these aspects.
Yes, but we need the human ego, the human body, a vessel to translate this information from the higher dimensions anyway.
Of
So, which is why the
course.
ego, the earthly self, the human is so important.
Of course, she teaches us more than she knows.
Mm.
She thinks that we are teaching her. No,
No.
no. She teaches us how to perceive things. Because, as we would say, when one gets emotional, we do not understand it as such. We know it is painful, but we do not know the depth of this pain. But when she explains to us, then we actually feel like it all makes sense from how it is being perceived from this planet and why the miscommunication has been given. But this is for another time. We would like to open the eyes now.
Mm-hmm.
She does not want to open them.
Could you maybe just reassure her that?
Yes, she's okay.
And what does it look like?
It looks like billions of rainbows flickering together, creating light.
Yes.
Oh, these
Are the hands also perceived as rainbows?
Everything looks like little rainbows shattering, creating contrast and color.
Like a prism.
Well, not entirely. It is creating a flow. It is like seeing water run down a stream, perfectly falling. And it is continuously moving, never standing still.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
But the light is bright. How these eyes perceive things is very strange. We are not sure if we like it.
Okay.
But we would like to see you.
Mm-hmm.
But you would have to get up, as the vessel does not want to move the head.
Yes. Okay.
I think the vessel is overwhelmed.
Yes. Can you see me?
You are beautiful.
Thank you.
You have such a nice energy.
Thank you.
You may sit.
Thank you.
This is very strange. Strange indeed.
Okay.
Okay. We are going to go back now.
Okay. Very good. Okay, so what was the purpose of that exercise?
That was just for us to feel.
Okay.
We were just curious.
Okay, very
We
good.
always watch, but we never get to feel.
Okay.
This is what it's about, this planet, is it not? To feel.
Yes. Okay. Okay, is there anything else about the next steps for us, for Natasha and I?
There is, but we would just want to give your information on the technology you asked for.
Yes. Do you mind if I go to the bathroom quickly?
You may.
Thank you. Is Natasha comfortable?
Yes.
Okay.
We are just going to sit with her.
Okay.
And you are so beautiful. We can feel every vibration, every sensation of the one vessel. This is different how we usually perceive you. This is so much fun.
I've had other sessions where we had similar issues where I couldn't get the guides to recede actually to close the session. So
We can feel temperatures. This is weird.
Yes.
We can always perceive it and we know what it should feel like and how it should be. But to be there and receive it is something different.
Yes. Beautiful.
I think, to say I think, We
Mm.
don't think, but in this vessel we think. It
Yes.
is different. From our perception, all thinks that we just understand everything all the time, which is some truth. However, we don't understand what the feeling is here. That is why we ask. The thing is, if you do not ask us, how will we know?
Okay. So just by virtue of creating the question, the answer then arrives. But
Exactly.
also,
This is ask and you shall receive. This is a teaching that has been given so much time. If you don't, as Natasha, if she does not ask us what is going on, we will not tell her because we assume she knows them, because we cannot feel the emotions. That is why we always wanted to describe it. Describe how you feel. Then we can explain. But if you don't describe, there is no emotion where we are.
Okay. Okay, so just getting back to the
Technologies,
yes,
yes.
please.
Technology centers have been placed all over the vessel.
Yes.
But there's more, and it depending on the activation. Okay? There is at the back, the base is the most important energy point. This is one that receives energy into the tissue and it sends it in down the switch box, or as you would perceive, the spine.
Yes.
Each one streams out to different areas of the vessel. This can control and manipulate frequencies. Everyone is so focused on this chakra in the front, which is alright, but it is not the main. It's not the base to see, it's the base to feel. The chakra off center of the heart is the most important. This is what receives the frequency, and this is what gives the frequency, which creates the cycle of the vessel. Now, to receive in the energy through the back is going to perceive in what happens inside of the vessel. This is when many vessels have been hijacked by frequencies that attach themselves here because one doesn't understand. So, as I would explain, if Natasha would go and she would focus on that energy point at the back and she would send a current through her hands, she would actually be able to start manipulating things, manipulating frequencies. This is what she is here to teach about energy. This is what you and her are going to teach with these new technologies. You are going to teach how to transmute this energy through this spine base so that it can move through the tissue and move into the reality outside, as what we say, like the apple and different things.
Yes.
It transmutes in and then it connects with the tissue, which creates a frequency base and a cell in the water, and it will activate things. So, how we would say it is you two need to start practicing with this base to control this technology, because this is what is going to create the basic for the vessel. If Natasha could master this, she could make this arm so strong she could punch through a wall.
Yes. Okay. So you're talking about instant manifestation and kind of manipulating matter. Is that what you're talking about?
Yes, this will happen, but not for all.
Okay. So can you maybe give us some techniques as to how we might be able to manipulate matter? For instance, having a top spin or manifest the apple in the hand.
It is actually an easy concept. However, we know it's not going to perceive as such.
Yes.
How we would try to explain it in terms that would make sense in this realm is this is water. It's continuously moving. This is what it is, right? Now, what would happen is if one would focus and see the current, one could use the thought of what we would say the belief, the perception, and change the current and say, this current is flowing in a certain direction. I want it to move into a different current. And then you lace the intent on the energy. This is what Natasha must start doing. You two need to start manipulating water first, because water is the easiest, because everything is water. So this is what must be done. Place water in front of you, a glass, something you can see. and you are going to look at the frequency. You are going to stare at it, and not with the eyes, with the heart. You are going to feel the current as if you would take your mind space and say that this piece of your body is in that glass. And you need to feel it in your chest. And let's say if you feel the water is still but hovering, then you're going to start to create the manipulation through the heart and say you are going to start to move it. And by this current is going to move and start going into that energy, and it's going to start creating the manipulation, and it will start rotating.
Okay. And you're saying you can close your eyes for that and then just imagine that with your heart, feeling it with your heart.
There's many ways of doing such. If it is going to make you feel better, you can do it that way.
Okay.
One could just look at it and say, move.
I
And
think
it will move.
I think we've all tried to do that and it hasn't worked. But I do like the
but it's
concept.
because none believe truly when they do it.
Yes. But I think the technique you're explaining with using the heart and through the heart kind of feeling that current move.
Yes,
The
this
current
is
will
the
move.
easiest.
Yes. Okay.
Because everything in this reality that shifts and moves with the frequencies comes from the heart. So if the heart controls it, the heart can manipulate the matter. This is why we keep saying connect back to the heart, and one can change one's reality.
Yes, but it's kind of like those martial artists, right? They kind of are very much in the heart when they're basically defying gravity.
Yes. Because when one can control the electromagnetic field that pumps out of this section, one can manipulate the currents. And when you manipulate the currents, you change the atom shape and form. This is why you could create an apple. This is why you could create a banana. They have different currents that create that frequency base. So once you actually know how to tap into it and you change the frequency base, the current that creates the shape, therefore you can create the object that you need.
Okay. Okay, and how should we practice this? If we're feeling the current, we do it with the water, right? And then we kind of get the water to move. What would be
Yes.
the next step?
Once the water would start moving,
Mm-hmm.
you would start giving the water an intent.
Okay.
This is what Jesus did when he turned the water to wine. All he did was, he felt with the heart, he looked at the water, and he commanded it. And he said, all of the vitamins and minerals and molecules inside of this, which is giving the perception of fluid, he wants them to change to the perception of wine. And so they did. So it is once you can start to move the current, then the belief will be stronger, then you can place a deeper intent.
Okay.
It is the intent that you place is the most important. The intent is the command on the energy. So if you place the intent that you would want wine, but you try to manifest whiskey, it is not going to happen.
Okay. But if you place the intent, for example, the intent now with the water is to create a whirlpool. So then you create a whirlpool within your heart, right? Within the energy of your heart, and then the water will follow suit.
Yes.
Is that the technique?
That is the technique. But you must perceive it in the area. So as we say, you feel it here, but your eyes, your perception is seeing it there. So as if the water you're seeing in the cup is the water in your heart. And once you start manipulating like that, then you'll be able to manipulate anything.
Sounds very easy though. What happens if we lose focus or lose?
This will happen many times.
Okay, what
This
should
is
we
not
do
going
then?
to happen in the first, second, or third time around.
Yes.
This is going to take time because you have to first break away the belief structure that is said that you cannot move the water.
Okay.
This is what it's about. You're trying to do it, but you have been taught that there is a glass of water and it will always be that. How can you manipulate it?
Mm-hmm.
It is literally to get rid of this mindset of what it is. And when you understand the perception is free and it needs a label, and if you label it with the right intent, it will be what you ask.
Okay, yes. Your wish is my command, like you said, right?
Yes.
Energy is basically
But
like
it
that.
is like being an athlete. You cannot go run a marathon and expect to be fine. Every day you must stretch. You must go a little further. So you start with a small body of water. Does not mean that you'll be able to manipulate a big body.
Mm-hmm.
Once you master that, you move to a bigger water and bigger and bigger. Some won't even be able to manipulate water. Some will be able to manipulate the plants. One must stem from your energy source. One will be able to have their plants in their house grow quite fast and quickly by the energy that they give out as they
Yes.
feed off the frequency. It's just depending on which base is more comfortable for your energy.
Yes, my mom is like that. Every plant she looks at becomes like an overgrown mass.
Hmm. Because that is the intent that she projects into them. So if you use the same context and project from the chest into the water, you can manipulate it.
So with a plant, for example, how would one do that? Like if you, in your heart, would you kind of just feel the growth in the heart?
Yes, the plant grows off the frequency, off the love. So by you giving love to that plant, you
Okay.
feed that light and they absorb it like a food and then they start to grow.
Okay. And then what about air? How would one manipulate air going through the elements?
The air is the most fun,
The
as we would say.
airbender.
The air is one that takes long to master because it is all purely done with feeling.
Hmm.
It is the feeling of the wind and the motion because there's nothing there but the feeling. That is what wind is. So if one can be in tune completely with the feeling, one can manipulate the air.
So it's the sensation of feeling the wind like on your skin, is that what you're saying? And you
Yes,
feel that inside your heart.
yes. One could
Okay.
practice by standing in the wind and then projecting out that the wind is getting slower and slower until it starts to die down. Natasha has done this before. However, she still chooses to believe that it is not real.
We need that in Cape Town to calm down the wind.
It is the best, the wind, as it is shaping so much in the energy field. What is happening is the frequency bases, the little rainbows, is shaping and connecting things, and the wind is taking it and pushing them together in patterns to create matter. And this is the same concept with the water. When you are looking the water and you're creating the current is the wind, it's the energy that is moving the current of the water to move.
Yes.
Even the same when going in towards the plants. All of the elements are used at the same time to create something, because when your wind is creating the current force, the love that's going in stimulates the water to keep moving and growing. And then what will happen? The heat will change the properties of it going. And so you create matter.
Yes.
This is how this planet was shaped.
And then what about fire? How would we manipulate fire?
This will not be given.
Because I
Many
suppose that's
will,
dangerous, right?
yes, many will abuse this.
Okay.
And this is not the right time, because fire is driven more with the passion. As we would say, fire's main energy stimulates more from this side, in one's power. And many can get greedy in one's power if they do
Okay.
not understand how to work with the current. This will not be shared.
Are you talking about solar plexus and sacral chakras?
Yes, the solar plexus.
Solar, okay.
The solar plexus is where the main root for fire is, as we would say, because it is your power,
Yes,
it
it
is
is.
your passion.
Yes. The
And
seat of power.
yes,
Yes. Okay.
where your healing, your earth would come more from the root.
Yes. Beautiful. Okay, so anything else about manifestation with or I suppose manipulating energy with the elements?
No, because you two will get more information of that once you actually start trying. None
Yes.
of you are sitting and trying.
Yes.
You are trying in your head, but you're not trying in your physical.
Okay. So we need to take the first step and then the next step,
Yes.
the next step, and the next
You will
information will flow.
only be allowed to do this. You will only get granted permission to physically bring it in once you actually try. Once the energy sees that you are actually invested in your purpose, you will receive more of your purpose. It is still a give and take.
Yes.
One has to receive in to receive out.
Okay.